product, process or service. In terms of our running order this morning, after the welcomes, we have our Business Development Manager, Dr. Shauna Johnson, who will host a panel discussion with several companies who have engaged with TU Dublin via Open Labs since we started back in 2018. This will be followed by our Innovation Showcase, comprising of 6 TU Dublin research capabilities that will give you a flavour of what TU Dublin can offer you. These showcases, which are presented by TU Dublin staff and researchers, cover a wide range of research areas such as biosensors, cybersecurity, food innovation, innovative surface coatings, product design, and virtual reality. If at any stage you have a question, please feel free to put it into the chat function, or if you prefer to contact one of the Hothouse team, please send your email to hothouse@tudublin.ie after the event. If you're a social media user, please use our hashtag TU Dublin Open Labs. Hothouse are delighted to announce that we will co-fund an industry project with one lucky participant at today's event to the tune of €2,500. All you have to do to win, or to be in a chance to win, is to interact with us today, such as asking a question in the chat, taking part in one of our pop-up polls that will occur throughout the morning, or joining in the social media conversation on Twitter or LinkedIn, or sending us an email with your Open Labs query. Now, we would like to play a video from TU Dublin President, Professor David Fitzpatrick, who unfortunately could not be with us today.
Hello, and it's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to say a few words at the start of the 2021 Open Labs event. Today is the 3rd anniversary event, and it's also being held on the day which is National Innovation Day, and I'm sure that's not a coincidence, and it gives us a really strong focus for our celebrations and commemorations of activities to date on our TU Dublin campuses. Open Labs is an initiative that was pioneered by TU Dublin in order to help SMEs collaborate and to develop their research capacities. It started in February 2018 and has so far helped over 150 SMEs and startups to innovate and develop new products, processes and services, generating over €1.6 million worth of research income. Fundamentally, Open Labs looks to remove the perceived barriers that can exist between the SME environment and startups and engaging with universities. And it's that engagement, particularly in the early stage research and innovation, that is really important, and it's where TU Dublin can play a significant role. Through Open Labs, SMEs and startups have the opportunity to engage with over 600 TU Dublin researchers and also to engage with our world-class leading facilities. The impact of TU Dublin for me as president has been exemplified by one simple metric relating to the Open Labs initiative, and that is that over the last 3 years, some 27% of the business has been repeat business from companies coming back to engage with us even further. Aside from the success of the Open Labs initiative itself, innovation and entrepreneurship are core to the mission and ethos of TU Dublin, both historically and in our strategic plan to 2030. Historically, across all 3 campuses of the university, the support and development of innovation, startups and spin-outs has been ongoing and has been a somewhat under-recognized pillar of achievement, given that we have hubs of entrepreneurship and innovation in the Synergy, Link and Hothouse centres on each of our 3 campuses. Our strategic plan, which is built on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, has 3 pillars of people, planet and partnership, with the overarching objective of building a better world together. A specific objective within our strategic partnerships pillar is that of open science, open innovation, open to the world. Through that, we want to send a loud and clear message to all of our collaborators and partners that we are open for business and open to engage. On that basis, I hope that today will serve both to highlight and celebrate our ongoing success and to create the platform for future engagement and future successes in the innovation and entrepreneurship space. And I wish all of you attending today and all of those engaged in innovation and entrepreneurship across the TU Dublin University campuses a highly successful 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those words, Professor Fitzpatrick. Now I'm pleased to introduce Professor Brian O'Neill, Director of Research, Enterprise and Innovation Services. Over to you, Brian.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Good morning, everybody. Brian O'Neill, Director of Research, Enterprise and Innovation here at TU Dublin. And just like to welcome everybody and everyone who signed up in such great numbers for this morning. Really, I'm recalling 3 years ago when we opened the first event in Grangegorman at what was then the recently opened Greenway Hub Innovation Centre, and it was great to welcome so many people to the campus at that time. It's really such a pity we can't have you physically on campus, but you see the picture in the background here, so that this is, if you like, a campus very much in development, and this is a campus which, as the President has said, is very much open for business and open for innovation, and that's very much the idea that we want to foster and promote for today. So the whole idea of open labs, and both Paul and the President has given you an insight into where this idea came from. The point is that this is about providing better assistance to startups, SMEs, and how we can foster that opportunity for business and academia coming together. This is the university business environment interface, and that is the challenge that we at TU Dublin and the Hothouse team have set themselves: how to improve that engagement, how to provide an insight into the work that our researchers are doing. Our colleagues working in different discipline areas in labs are constantly working in terms of new areas of development and ideas that will definitely be of interest to business. And that's something that we want to ensure, that there's always a good open door policy in terms of what we're doing and how we can foster and develop a greater relationship and conversation with yourselves in this. We've identified, and through our many different engagements, that there are perceived barriers to entry, and this is not an always easy business. Early stage research is often high risk. It involves significant investment, and for small companies lacking in resources, this can be a very daunting and significant barrier. But we've lots of experience, and through TU Dublin innovation programs, we have worked with companies, we have grown new developments and seen great successes. So many will be familiar with Castus Technologies, for example, whose pioneering antiviral, antibacterial coatings for glass were developed here in the CREST Technology Gateway. And there is a solution that is absolutely needed in today's very challenging circumstances. Recognized, of course, with their new deal with Lenovo, the computer manufacturer, and indeed was featured on Sky News. So we're wishing everyone in Castus every continued success in the development of their business. Artomatics was another company hosted in our incubator centre on the Grangegorman campus, developing 3D content for games and movies, and acquired by Silicon Valley giant Unity 3D for $60 million US in 2019. So a fabulous success story for that startup company, and one where we have and continue to have a very positive relationship, and every continued success to them. I think you'll meet later on today, as one of the panel discussions, Micron Agritech, a startup from our own TU Dublin undergraduates, developing an on-farm rapid parasitic testing system. They've raised 500k in investment. They have acquired HPSU status. They're well on the road on a journey journey to great things. And we're working closely with them. And just to mention recent successes in the National Enterprise Awards, VRAI took this year's Innovation Award, and Augmented Technologies similarly won an award for export-based services. So these are examples of really good success stories, and these are all based on relationships between the university and companies who are looking to progress and develop their particular path to success. So that's the idea of Open Labs. It is a meeting place where we can meet with you on your terms and guide you through the development process. That's the point. We want to encourage and welcome all new inquiries. Finding out how this innovation process works, what we can do to help, how we can advise you through funding options, guide you through the whole process of IP and IP management. These are the kinds of things that our team are expert in and have lots of experience, and will help through each stage of that process, writing briefs, developing funding applications, looking at the investment opportunities and so on. Why TU Dublin? As you can see, TU Dublin is itself newly established and now one of the largest universities in the country, but with a particular mission to make ourselves valuable and useful to industry and supporting business. We have a very particular commitment to working with the SME sector, and particularly those in our immediate region. So this is something that's very important to us. It's very important to our mission, and as the President has outlined, is very much part of our strategic plan. So key message for everybody today: please do engage. We hope you find the case studies, the discussions of value, of interest. We very much hope to see you as coming again through that repeat business that Professor Fitzpatrick spoke about, and that we can do everything we can to help you in your journey to success. I'll hand over back to Paul at this stage and wish everybody well for today's event. All the best.
Thank you very much, Brian, for those words. We launched on Valentine's Day in 2018 the International Day of Matchmaking with a physical event here in TU Dublin City campus, as Brian said. The whole point of Open Labs was to help to foster greater collaboration between TU Dublin researchers and SMEs, essentially creating an external R&D wing for companies, removing those perceived barriers to entry that Brian mentioned for companies who are maybe thinking about engaging with the third level for the first time. Since we started Open Labs, a lot has happened over the following 3 years. We've had Brexit, COVID, working from home, homeschooling, the work commute for some is a distant memory, and Liverpool finally won the Premier League. But I'm going to move on very quickly before we start discussing this year's performance. In terms of impact of Open Labs, we have had over 5,000 company queries and website visits over the last 3 years. Between 2018 and 2020, we completed over 150 collaborative projects, and as the President mentioned, we had a 27% repeat rate, indicating that we're doing something right throughout this process. In a recent survey of previous Open Lab participants, based on the number of responses, preliminary data is showing us that 58% stated that they created new jobs in that 2018 to 2020 time period, with over half the respondents saying they're going to continue to hire in 2021. A total of 91 new or improved product, process and services were supported by TU Dublin during that time, and 61% of respondents were exporting or have launched in new markets. I am hoping that you find this morning's event informative and shows you how TU Dublin can help your business succeed and strive. Now I'd like to hand over to Dr. Shauna Johnson for our panel session. Shauna.
Thanks for that, Paul. Good morning, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. So I'm going to get started with our panel discussion. If some of our panelists would like to turn on their microphones and cameras. So I will just introduce you guys in the order that you're on my screen. So we have Tara McElligott from Micron Agritech. And we have Greg Jackson from Autoplan. We have Sarah Boland from VFace, and we have Susan Costello from Biopharmachem SkillNet. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for taking the time to come out and speak with us this morning about your experiences. We really appreciate it. So I think to get going, we'll just kind of go around, and if everybody could take a couple minutes and maybe tell me a bit about your company, what you do, sort of what your offering is, and maybe what stage on your journey you're at. So if we maybe just stick to the original order. Tara, if you wouldn't mind going first.
Sure. Thanks, Shauna. So I'm with Micron Agritech. We're quite a small company, and we registered as a company 2 years ago. And as Brian kindly mentioned to us earlier on, we started off as an undergraduate project who approached TU Dublin with some IP questions. And now we've obviously graduated and developed our company a bit further. So who we are, we're an ag tech company, and we saw a gap in the market for testing, portable testing that farmers can do of their own animals. There's a big resistance issue lately going on with our farm animals. They're growing more and more resistant to medication. So it's very important that they get tested as often as they can. So we've just finished a seed round, and we're just currently trying to get this product to market.
Brilliant. That's wonderful. Great news, Tara. Thanks for that. Maybe we'll pass over to Greg next, if you'd like to talk about Autoplan.
Thanks, Shauna. Yeah, so I'm Greg, founder of Autoplan, and our mission is to make architects' lives a little bit easier. So the design side of architecture has undergone this fantastic digital transformation, but what I call the boring side of architecture has been left behind a little bit. So the administrative and reporting side of architecture is still very much an analog problem in a digital world, and can account for 50% of an architect's fees. So we have two products we have one product in the market and one product being tested to go into the market to help solve this problem. So we have a planning search tool on our website that anyone can sign up for and use for free on autoplan.ie. And that allows you to find your planning history quickly and easily. And you can search for planning precedents the way you'd search for properties on the planning portal. And we're testing a feasibility report tool for architects now that allows them to automatically find potential issues with future site development without having to go through the painful manual research. We've been through new frontiers in TU Dublin Hothouse. We've had funding from the NDRC at Arc Labs, and we're currently a recipient of the European Space Agency Business Incubation Grant with MinuteWorks. That's us.
Brilliant. Thanks, Greg. That's a lot of great work, and congratulations on all of your funding. Let's pass over to Sarah with BFace, if you'd like to tell us a bit about your company.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Is my camera on, by the way?
It is, yes.
Oh yeah, great, okay. So VFace is Dublin's first vegan burger bar. The restaurant opened in May in Stony Batter, and the second one is due to open sometime this year. We serve really tasty, innovative vegan fast food for everyone, not just for vegans. We welcome everyone in the door, even the carnivores. Our USP is that our food is 100% vegan, but what really separates us from the crowd is our branding. If you want to check this out, you can follow us over on Instagram. The username is vface.ie. I think it's really important for a brand to have a strong online presence, and a big part of this is for us experimenting with innovative ingredients such as activated charcoal, beetroot powder. It helps create really strong visuals. Opening during the first lockdown was very challenging, but sales are currently strong and continue to grow month on month. Along with our takeout offering, we've also created our own vegan mayo range, which can be bought in store and online. We have some really exciting flavors such as pink garlic mayo, sriracha, and the OG mayo. We plan to retail these through larger suppliers in the future, so keep your eyes peeled.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Sarah. I'll say I've tried some of your burgers. They are very tasty. So if anybody's in Stony Batter, definitely stop in there. Perfect. And we'll move on to Susan with Biopharmachem, if you'd like to tell us a bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so good morning. So Susan Costa is my name, and I'm the network manager for the Biopharmachem SkillNet. So we were established in 2006, and we're one of 70 SkillNet networks around the country. So we're enterprise-led, and we're funded through SkillNet Ireland through the Department of Education, Further and Higher Education, and we're promoted by IBEC, so Biopharmachem Ireland, the sectoral division within IBEC. So really, our objective is to support member companies. We deal with the pharma, biopharma, chemical, and medical device companies around the country. So it's really to support them with their learning and development strategies. So kind of to ensure that the workforce in the sector, remains upskilled and current to like the ever-changing environment we find ourselves in, and COVID, no different to everybody else, posed some challenges for us last year when everything obviously had to go online. So really, from outskilling support for companies that have reductions or site closures to ensuring the current workforce is, upskilled in workforce development and design, to then looking at the future skills of the sector and what's coming down the track, and what we can help to do to bridge those skill gaps. So we kind of do a little bit of everything to ensure kind of lifelong learning and the learning and development is up there at the forefront within the sector.
Brilliant, thanks, Susan. It's really great to see just the diversity of what everybody's doing and kind of the companies that have come through Open Labs. It's really great. You're all doing such different things. So maybe I'll stick with you there, Susan. So, you have a lot of capabilities on your own. So what sort of research capabilities were you looking for, and why did you feel the need to engage with an external research partner?
So I suppose for us, we wanted to venture into the world of virtual reality and really to see, I suppose, for the sector, what kind of a program we could devise that would be applicable to a number of our companies. I suppose to kind of to dip our toe in the water, as we'd say, with the whole VR. So we wouldn't have had what I would say is those capabilities within our own organisation. So we had to go further afield. So so arduous procurement process that had to be followed, and TU Dublin Labs were the successful tenderer. So we're delighted then to be working with Brian and with David on the project.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Susan. We're delighted you're working with us too. Sarah, I might ask you the same question. What capabilities were you looking for, and what made you want to engage with an external research partner?
Okay, so we wanted to create our own burger patties in-house, unique to the brand. So later that we could open up a V-Face production kitchen. So we needed a lab with very specific skill sets, and that's where TU have come into place for us.
Perfect, thanks so much. So how did you find out about TU Dublin, Sarah?
So since becoming involved in the food industry, it was important for me to create connections, as this was very new territory for me. So I actually met a guy called Shane at a local enterprise event who runs a company called Feed. It happens to be another vegan brand. I'm not sure if you heard of it. It's the food pouches.
Okay.
So yeah, we kind of got chatting, and I was kind of telling him where the company was at, and he recommended the innovation grant to me, which is run by local enterprise office. So once you apply and get granted, you then have the option to choose from a list of labs. So luckily for me, TU was on the list, and I had a call with Shauna and Lubna, and they gave me great confidence that they could deliver what I needed.
Perfect. That's great, Sarah. Thanks for sharing that with us. Tara, maybe the same question for you. How did you find out about TU Dublin? I mean, obviously you were a student, but how did you get involved with Open Labs?
Yeah, great question. So I guess ours is a little bit of a different story than a typical one. So we were 4 people, and we were just doing a college project, and we really thought that the concept that we had, which was nothing more than a concept, was quite interesting. We thought it was unique. So we approached our lecturer, Colin Keane, and he told us to talk to Kieran O'Connell from Hothouse. It was DIT still at the time. And we met up in a Starbucks, and we asked about our concept, and if we could have IP, and how we could form a relationship. And that's how we got started. Once this communication was kind of open, and we got to know Kieran, he was excited to kind of help us learn how to network. So we met Micra, for example, in Tala, and we use an innovation voucher with them for one of our items, which now also has IP. So that's kind of our story with TU Dublin.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Tara. It's great to see the diversity of stories there. So maybe we'll pass back to Greg. So how would you say the process has been from you, sort of from your initial Google search to where your research project is now?
Yeah, sure. Very straightforward. So we were funded, our initial interaction with TU Dublin was via New Frontiers. So we knew you guys and we worked in the same building as you. So it was very straightforward to progress the relationship. Our research collaboration with the university was funded by an Enterprise Ireland Innovation Voucher. So starting there, that's a very straightforward application. It's 2 pages. It takes a couple hours, and they're really worth doing for any company who hasn't done them because they're €5,000. You can get 2 a year, I think. And my point of contact in the university was actually you, Shauna. So you helped me get that over the line and find, for those who haven't done it, Sean, part of Shauna's job and others in the hothouse is to matchmake or facilitate innovation in companies to innovation in the university. So you find the right professor to work with to get the most out of your project. So from that perspective, that was very straightforward. You helped us a lot. And yeah, from there, the projects we're on our second one now with the university. So the first one was very successful and we continued on to do another. So.
Great, thanks for that, Greg. Susan, same question to you. How has the process been from you, sort of from your initial searches to where you find your project now?
So once we had the procurement piece done, so that is always a bit of work, but once we were finished that bit, it's really been very seamless. To be fair, I suppose what is even we're finding interesting and different for our initiative is, so we were to develop a course utilising VR on a sterile filling operation. So we're kind of mirroring some of the equipment that you'd have in a biopharmaceutical plant, but with the objective that we could train a number of trainees at the same time out of the live operating environment. So we're replicating clean rooms and isolators, and while I know they're to a lot of people they won't mean a lot of things, it's a really important piece of work. And I suppose for us, like Brian just jumped right in, and David, and while this, clean rooms may not be their area of expertise, they made sure it was by the end. So we have now a really good program that we're really excited to launch in a couple of weeks for the sector. And we're one of the first SkillNet networks to actually launch a full program in VR. So so we've been really delighted. So it's exciting times ahead for us.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Susan. So maybe just move on to a quick talk about some funding. So I know you all have some slightly different mechanisms. So the innovation voucher has been mentioned a couple of times. You can apply, your local enterprise office can help you direct you to that, as in Sarah's case, or you can apply directly through EI, as Greg did. You can have up to 3 innovation vouchers. So 2 can be fully funded and 1 is a 50-50 co-fund. So it does provide a lot of risk-free initial startup cash for companies like yourself. And again, they're a great way to engage with researchers and get some work done, especially in your early stages of development. So again, maybe if we just go around and if you each want to mention a bit more in detail what kind of funding you used. I know some of you have mentioned it a little bit, but Tara, would you mind kind of talking about the funding mechanisms that you used?
Sure. Well, I guess as students, we were all very skint, so we had a very kind of definite way of how we wanted to start everything off. So, of course, we approached TU Dublin Hothouse and we got initial help with, they paid for IP, which has a lot of value in itself. And then from then on, as students throughout college, throughout the year, we did several competitions. And we won a good few of them. So I think altogether in the first year we got €20,000 altogether, just from that were just cash from competitions, which was great for us. And we were able to do a lot with that and really develop the company a lot and the concept. And then I guess from there on, we did an innovation voucher with Micra in Tala, TU Dublin. That helped us a lot. It has, I think, a value of €5,000 of research, which developed one part of our kit. And then from then we also got CSS funding in January last year, which got us €50,000, which you get in 2 tranches, which was brilliant. And we got the second tranche very quickly as we met all of our goals that we had set out. So we had that by June, I think, or May. And then at the same time, start of summer, we had decided that we needed to do a funding round. So partnered with animal health company Bimeda, venture capitalist Yield Lab, and Enterprise Ireland. With HPSU funding, we've managed to get €500,000 funding that we closed off at the end of 2020, which has been great. So that's our story with the funding.
Brilliant.
So
That's
far.
great, Tara. Yeah, congratulations. It's very impressive. Some great work on that.
Thank you.
Greg, how about you? I know you've got a lot going on there too.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, very impressive from my previous speaker. Yeah, I kind of went through it a little bit already, so I can speak to some of the other aspects that we've done. We started off with some grant funding from the EU from a project called Parsec. There's a whole world of remote sensing, so if you use satellite data in your products that you can unlock. And so we started off doing exploratory work from grant funding. And we probably, I'd say we we funded 75k in total over the space of about a year via those mechanisms, and there were non-equity diluting, and it's really nice that early in the company when you just have a concept that you try and retain as much percentage as possible until you have something worth raising money for. I mentioned that we went through the NDRC at Arc Labs. That was an €83,000 investment, and that was equity diluting. That's an open deal. It's for 8%. And we're an Enterprise Ireland client now as well, and we've just started raising our seed round, so I might ask others in this cohort for advice. So we're raising 700k now, but we've just started on that process. So that's all about building relationships and having lots and lots of conversations and receiving many no's until you get the yes. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. Again, congratulations. It's very impressive on your funding. Sarah, how about you? I know you've taken a very different journey to get where you are, so maybe you can talk about some of the supports and how you got there.
So, well, yeah, obviously the same as the guys, the innovation voucher. So we're actually in the process of applying for that for the second time. And then, yeah, we'll go for the third as well. So that's brilliant. Then we also received the online trading voucher from local enterprise office, which that funded our entire e-commerce site. So it was really good timing for us. And then obviously, like with COVID, that was useful for us because it developed a whole click and collect system, so people could come and pick the food up. So we actually then applied for that twice, and the second time it's funded like digital marketing for us. So it's allowed us to do a whole promotion video, which is great. And I think that's about it for funding for us so far.
That's brilliant, thanks. And it's great you were able to use the online marketing piece. I know it's a bit of an underutilized tool, so it's great that it was really handy for you. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
And then Susan, over to you. What about some of your funding journeys?
Yeah, so I suppose we'd be a little bit different again to the others where so we're co-funded by SkillNet Ireland and our member companies, and SkillNet Ireland is funded from the National Training Fund. So we're now through the Department of Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. So yeah, nice big long mouthful there, but it's so I suppose we'd have an annual application process. So for the likes of the Future Skills programs are now, they've rebranded to Future Dynamics. So where we'd, I suppose, work with our member companies really to see what are the emerging trends, what skills are coming down the line, where is there, I suppose, a skills gap required in the sector, and what can we work to do to address and bridge that gap. So I suppose, yeah, we then put a business case forward really, and it's fingers crossed until, you know, we get the nod whether we know we have that funding support to develop that program. So yes, we'll be doing the same this year. So no pressure to the guys to make sure that the pilot road goes really well. So a little bit different to the others.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great to see the diversity of different kind of mechanisms that there are to get companies started and the different fundings available. So again, thanks for that, guys. So we might pop back to Greg. So how do you feel that this process has benefited your company? If it did, hopefully, maybe
No.
what did you gain or learn through this process for Autoplan?
There's a few ways. I'll be really honest in my answer about this. One, I'll start by saying I personally really enjoyed it. I have an academic background myself, and it had been a while since I'd worked with the university, so I really enjoy university collaborations. And in a previous life, my job was actually to create kind of multi-stakeholder engagement projects with universities. So I got a lot out of it personally. Professionally, from a product perspective, the result of the first voucher is in the process of being integrated into our product. So we've had a research project convert into what will be a feature for our existing search tool. So that there's a commercial reality to the funding. So I think that that's the definitive marker of whether or not a research collaboration is successful. And there's loads of really useful reasons for startups to interact with universities. And this is the honest part of the answer. It lends you credibility.
Exactly,
You're just you in a room, and particularly now we're all just people in rooms because we can't work in offices. But like you're just a person in a room, and once you have collaboration with TU Dublin on the books, and you can talk about and talk to your customers about and investors about it, it does. The words make you seem more than you are is a funny one, but like it just makes it feel more real to someone who mightn't know you, and you can kind of borrow the credibility of an established and prestigious institution. So I think that was a benefit to us as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. That's very nice. Thank you. Tara, same question to you. How does this interaction kind of benefited your company, and what sorts of things did you gain or learn through this process?
Yeah, great question. Well, we started off as students with no business experience. So the biggest thing for us to start off with was to have advisors, to have a set of people with contacts that could advise you on how to network, how to anything really. We had loads of questions, and we're also then given contacts from these people. You know, we met other companies such as Micra, as I had mentioned before, or we work with another company on our software within the building, Unitech, in the Greenway Hub. And then the biggest thing for us really, because we're quite hardware intensive in a sense, and also software intensive, is having facilities of the university, which we'd already been familiar with as product designers, but being able to go into workshops, so using Create Lab with John Walsh, who I believe will be speaking later, and being able to use 3D printers and laser cutters, and talking to people about how maybe if we change something in our design to make something more sturdy or whatever it is, these types of relations within TU Dublin has really helped us along a great deal. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Tara. I'm really happy we could help. You guys are doing so well now. And so kind of a question then for the whole panel will go around. So if you had any tips to a new company maybe looking to engage with the university or research for the first time, what might you tell them? Maybe Susan, if you want to get started on that one.
Yeah, so I suppose really it's not as daunting as it may first seem. I think often you know, people kind of, you know, would make the assumption that, like, trying to deal with academia and with the universities, that, you know, it's this really difficult process that you can't gain access to. It really isn't. So actually, you know, once you have that connection and building on that relationship, it really has been, you know, fantastic to work with the guys and get, you know, obviously we had industry involvement as well. So, you know, we were able to bridge that gap kind of between academia and industry. And I suppose the program that we've done has been, I suppose, created for industry, but with industry's involvement. And yeah, it's really, I think, you know, for companies, you just need to jump, you know, make the first leap and try and establish that relationship with universities. And really, it's not as difficult to process as you might think.
It's great. Thanks, Sarah. Sorry, Susan, pardon me.
Okay.
Thanks for that. No, it's really great because I know it can seem like a bit of a nebulous process if you're not used to working with the third sector, third level. It seems like this thing over there that you don't know what to do with. So it's really great. It's really great to hear. Thanks for that. Sarah, how about you? Any tips for maybe companies looking to engage with a university for the first time?
So I would probably say to try and ensure that you have a very clear brief going in, to make the communication channels a little bit easier on both sides. And I guess then if you have a very clear, yeah, and just a clear understanding of what you want to do as much as you can. So, and then it's a lot easier to trash it out with them and move forward to where you need to get to.
Brilliant. That's great, Sarah. And that is another good point is, sometimes things come in and companies don't always have a good idea of what they want. And we can definitely help with that. But the more clear you are with what you'd like to get out of it, the more, we can really help you and get you what you need. So thanks for that. Greg, your turn.
Yeah, sure. I think on that specific point, I think if you don't know what you want done, an innovation voucher or similar can be used to figure out what you need to do. So it depends where you are in your own product development lifecycle. And generally the innovation vouchers fit or similar any interaction with the university that involves university research collaboration. It's research, so it's about figuring out what needs to be done and how it can be done or if it can be done. So they're all very different questions, and I think an understanding, particularly for very early stage companies, of what research is and how it can help you is really important, and that's part of the function of a hothouse, I'd imagine. Because it's not capacity for your company. It's generally not for things you can do in-house but don't have time to do. It's not another engineer. These are skilled researchers looking to do research to add value and innovation to your company. So that kind of mindset of understanding the difference between those two things is really important going in, because you'll get the most out of your interaction then.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Greg. And then Tara, for you, any tips for companies looking to engage with the university sector?
I guess very similar to the other guys, it's just important to just reach out, make that initial conversation happen and just do a pitch. If it all goes bad, the worst that you'll hear is no. And you'll learn a lot from that pitch, and you can always ask at the end, okay, why wasn't it good enough? And you get that advice back. For example, as Sarah mentioned, that maybe you weren't clear enough, all these types of things. But then, so another thing about reaching out is that places like incubation centres such as Hothouse, it's, EI funded, and you're just looking to help. You're looking to give information, and that's what we companies should look to take, is just take as much as you can, really take everything you can, anything that's free or any advice that's being given to you, take it, and because you can do a lot with that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. That's really great. So that wraps up my questions. So we do have a bunch of Q&A has rolled in from the audience. So I'll start filtering some of these. The first question is for you, Tara, from Robert Hickey. So how long did it take you to get IP, and what is the IP for?
Interesting. So we've developed a kind of a technology-based product which allows you to use machine learning to identify any parasites that are present in fecal samples in cattle. So we came up with just a concept that explains generically the whole process, and I think we started conversations in I think it was 2018 November, and then by December we had the patent was initially filed, and then by the summer I think we already received our first documents back. So it was a pretty quick process, but it is a long process in going back and forth about items from the research report that you get back from the patent office. But it's been a pretty quick process as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Tara. So we have another question for everyone on the panel, if anybody wants to join in. So are there any less well-known funding schemes that you might want to talk about which possibly don't involve giving away your equity? So, things like the innovation voucher, like they don't involve you giving away your equity, but some of the larger fundings do. So somebody's wondering, if you came across any larger funding schemes that may not involve you giving away part of your company.
The Restart grant was one for me that was related again to COVID. So it's kind of a good time to look out for, I think, those sort of grants at the moment. It was for specific businesses that obviously had to close like the seating area of their restaurants. But that was a big for me also.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. Anybody else come across anything that they wanted to talk about for funding?
I think there's a pretty standard track that companies go on, starting with local enterprise office, and then there's grants with Enterprise Ireland. I'll say within Enterprise Ireland, there are more obscure grants you don't hear about day to day. Like the Exploring Innovation grant is one good example that isn't necessarily on the kind of competitive start HIPSU roadmap. So there's a kind of a for something that seems nebulous and amorphous, starting a company, there is actually a very well-trodden track in Ireland of funding streams. Where it gets a bit more obscure, I think the advice would be for your domain. There's a lot of European non-equity diluting funding from the EU and from domain-specific sources. I mentioned the Weave European Space Agency funding, and it's about finding the hard bit with that is it's so nebulous, and there's hundreds of there's EU Horizon projects that give out money to other companies. That's their purpose, and finding those is the challenge. So there's EU calls. I'll say net or org is a good website to find those. There's F6S, I think it's called, is another place to find EU funding sources, and they're just search tools for funding, for grant funding. So it's worth keeping up on those and signing up to your domains within those, and they give you mail shots every week of any potential new funding sources to find those obscure pots of money.
Perfect, that's great. I know another one that's gotten a little bit of popularity lately is Enterprise Ireland. I believe it's for their clients. They have a business financial planning grant that they've come up with for COVID-19. So it's to help companies in COVID kind of maybe rejig their financial plans to get around COVID. And it doesn't even have to be COVID specific. I know lots of startups have used it to kind of help them get their financial planning started. So it's a great tool. It doesn't interact with us at all, but it is a bit of a lesser known new one out there. So, so that's great. What do we have here? We also have another question for Greg. So you mentioned the New Frontiers program. Was this phase 2? And was this the first time you brought your idea up for mentoring and possible funding?
Well, that's a good question. Yes and no. So sorry for the New Frontiers part, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, we did New Frontiers part 1 and 2. So I just moved back to Ireland from Singapore, and I was looking to start a company. I had an idea of some problems in the prop tech space, and I think 2 weeks after I moved home, the deadline from New Frontiers phase 1 was approaching, so I applied and luckily was accepted, and then consequently went on to join phase 2 as well. I'd been on a program called Entrepreneurs First in London before that, and they'd funded me personally to do customer discovery and market discovery. So any good startup should start by either finding a problem worth solving or having such an innovative technology that it's worth going out and finding a problem that cool technology solves. And they're the two ways in my head to start a company. So in the technology space, obviously retail or whatever is different. Yeah, so that's kind of the end of my comment.
Perfect, thanks, Greg. And just another comment on the funding there. There is a tool, I think Danielle might post it in the group chat there. So there's a tool you can use. It's like the SME online tool, and you can actually search a variety of parameters for your own company and see what sort of funding is available. So again, we'll just get Danielle to maybe pop that in the main chats. And again, take a look. There's lots of funding out there that's not necessarily collaborative funding, but you can search for things specific to you there. Okay, so another question for the panel. Have any of you raised rounds both pre and post COVID? If so, has it had much of effect on kind of the process and how easy it was and what your deal size was? Anybody have experience getting money pre and post COVID?
Yeah, I guess ours is both. We started conversations around maybe March last year, and we'd only closed our round fully, having everything signed in December. So we were able to meet initially a good few people in person, but then this whole process completely changed and it all became very virtual with these kind of webcam meetings, which does change things a lot. But aside from that, I think my experience with our experience with funding rounds with COVID, the only real issue was not being able to meet someone, maybe show someone around and give someone a good impression by letting them handle your product. So I guess it's the only thing, but with these webcams and things like that, it actually has been very, very good, and I guess a bit cheaper because you buy people less coffee. So it still worked out very well for us, I think, and we still managed to close it off. I think the same timing we would have anyways. Yeah.
Perfect, thanks. And then a question here for Susan. What was the hardest problem after money that you faced in getting your business up and running?
I suppose, well, for us in terms of getting this project off the ground, I suppose, like that, we did it. We had the funding secured prior to COVID. So then we were trying to, I suppose, begin this journey in COVID. So we just had to adapt a little bit, even things like, for us to get industry to trial, I suppose, kind of the demo and as it was being built and to give feedback. So we had to just be, I suppose, a little bit inventive and ensure that, so we had purchased some headsets, so we were able to get them, shipped to Brian. Brian was able to upload files and we were able to dispatch them out to around the country to the different, I suppose, stakeholders that were working with us on the project. So I suppose it's thing that we just had to adapt really to the different environment, a little bit like, I suppose, as Tara was saying, where they would have all been in a room. We obviously would have been having, pre-COVID, we would have had these meetings with people, get everybody in a room and get their feedback there and then, and, be able to demo and trial the build. So we just, I said, we just had to be a little bit inventive and find a way around it. So it wasn't really, a barrier to the work. It's just, it probably took a little bit longer than we had originally anticipated, but, we were given an allowance for that just with COVID, so it's okay.
Brilliant, thanks so much. Kind of general question, did anybody get support to develop your brand or sort of tone or presentation skills? Anybody feel they had support with that? Just a question that came in.
I'll give a super quick answer. New Frontiers had dedicated support for that, which was great. So they taught you how to pitch. The NDRC also put a lot of emphasis on it actually as well, now I think about it. And we had an acting coach in the NDRC, now I think about it. So yes, pitching is really important, and coming across as professional in a 3 or a 5 or a 10-minute, depending on who you're pitching to and why, is really important. So they are kind of baked into all the accelerator programs now that I've been on in any case. So yes.
Perfect, thanks Greg. Okay, I think we've got time for one more question here. Let's see what we've got. Oh, a question for Tara. What criteria did you use to establish the valuation of your firm for fundraising?
Interesting question. We didn't actually base any of our funding on the value of the company, just because we were such early stage startup. It wouldn't really make sense to us. So what we really did is we based it on convertible loan notes. So our investors use convertible loan notes, which means that they're going to convert on our next round. That's what we did.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. I know there's more questions that have come in, so we run out of time, but they will get answered, and I will direct you to the panel members for answering. Or if you have any more questions, you can always email us at hothouse@tudublin.ie, and we will answer your queries and direct them on as best as we can. So thanks again, everyone on the panel, for joining us. It was a really great discussion, and thanks again for your time. And of course, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the event. If not, we'll probably be funneling things on to you later throughout the day. So our next piece, we're going to start moving on to the showcase presentations. So these are not all of the capabilities we have in TU. We wouldn't have time to go through all of those in just a morning. So it's just a highlight of some groups. So we do have many other groups available that are not presenting today. And if you have questions about those, again, just email us, hothouse@tudublin.ie. So we're going to move on to the first presentation, and I just got an admin reminder to just remind everyone to keep their cameras and mics off, otherwise you kind of pop onto the screen and everybody can see you. So if you don't need your camera, please turn it off. So anyways, with that, we're going to start our first showcase, which is with John Walsh. He's the founder of Create Lab at TU Dublin, and he's going to go through some of his research capabilities and some case studies of collaborative projects that he's worked on. So over to you, John.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Walsh, like Shona said. I hope you can all see me. I believe you can. I'm going to try and share my screen in just a second. But just, I suppose, to give you a little bit of background about me and Create Lab. Let me just try and share. Yeah. Oops. So, apologies. Here we go. Yeah, my name is John Walsh. I'm founder of Create Lab, and I'm assistant head of school at TU Dublin School of Creative Arts. And my background is in product design and development. Before I worked at TU Dublin, I worked in industry for about 12 years. And this is our Create Lab team. So I suppose who we really are at Create Lab is we're a bunch of people who are designers, engineers, we're makers, we're creatives, we're innovators. We are academics mostly, we're researchers, but generally we're nearly also always industry practitioners. So most of the people who work in Create Lab are have come from an industry background or currently work in industry or have industry links. And we have kind of practical knowledge to help turn ideas for products into reality. We are a collaboration between TU Dublin School of Creative Arts and the School of Mechanical and Design Engineering in Bolton Street, and also our colleagues in Hothouse. And the areas of expertise that we have are in things like design research, ideation, product design and development, prototyping, 3D printing, CAD, design for manufacture, Arduino, which is an electronics platform, design communication, user-centered design. So all the parts of the design process in terms that you may need in terms of developing a physical product. We also have expertise in other areas like things like retail design, and in terms of also user experience design, UI design to a certain extent as well. Our facilities, we are very lucky to be based on the new campus in Grangegorman, and we've got superb workshop facilities there, and we also have excellent workshop and lab facilities in Bolton Street, which is just down the road from us now. Our equipment varies from, I suppose, high-tech stuff like 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC machines, vacuum formers and all that, down to woodworking machines and equipment. And I suppose one of the things that we are really proud of is our kind of, even our really basic kind of equipment that allows us to actually physically produce stuff quickly in a kind of a maker space. So we're really great at producing prototypes and responding quickly and creating, developing ideas in a fast and kind of lean way. Our purpose as Create Lab is similar to Open Labs, really. What we want to do is make the resources that we have, our intellectual resources, so our knowledge as designers and engineers and creatives, and also our physical resources like our labs, available to industry and to startups, and to support the development of products and services and intellectual property. And we do that through things like innovation vouchers, innovation partnerships, collaborative research agreements, and that sort of thing. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our work and show you some of the things we do. And what you'll notice is really it's quite a diverse selection of things. So we have a new researcher who's working with us at the moment, Vin, who's someplace out there in the ether. And I think it's a bit of a baptism of fire because the projects that we work on are really, really diverse in terms of the scope. And you'll kind of see that as we go through them. The thing that ties them all together, of course, is design and developing products. And we don't have one specific area of product design that we're focused on. We have a breadth, and it's really our skills as designers that we use in each project to help whoever it is on their journey in creating a new product or new IP. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is a company called Siesta Sofas, who came to us a number of years ago, and they had identified a need for a sofa bed for hospitals and healthcare. And the idea being that you might need a place, a bed to lie on, a bed to sleep on while you're staying over with a loved one. And this was kind of identified by a need by a number of their clients. It couldn't be a traditional sofa bed because, they're really big and cumbersome, and there were all sorts of issues with infection control, the length of time that it takes to unfold them, and all that sort of stuff. So they had a kind of idea for a very small kind of frame sofa bed that would expand on a very small footprint and that could be used safely and quickly and easily in hospital environments. And I suppose the types of problems that they had were that they were a traditional sofa making company. And when you make sofas in a traditional kind of way, it doesn't really matter if they're not all identical because they're going into different people's houses. It doesn't really matter, because you upholster things, you cover things up. So what they had difficulty with, I suppose, was as soon as they introduced the idea of a mechanism, everything had to be much, much more consistent. So we helped them in the design of the mechanism, and then we also helped them in terms of their manufacturing process and how they would design a product for manufacture using CNC machinery instead of just traditional handmade frames, which just simply wouldn't have had the degree of tolerance, and also wouldn't have, I suppose, reached the price point for them as well. The product has been about, I think, these figures are out of date, but I'm sure well over 1,000 have been installed now in about 50 hospitals across the UK and across Ireland. For something totally different, I'm going to talk to you about a project called Cactus. And this is an internal TU Dublin project. We were contacted by a research team at the Focus Institute who had, I suppose, invented an ultrasound process that looked a little bit like this. I'm not going to attempt to explain it because it's actually well beyond me and I'll get it all wrong. But they needed some help, and they had two problems, I suppose. One was that this was their setup and they needed to take a reading every couple of weeks. And in order to do that, they had to, set this up really accurately, get things level. There's a little spirit level you'll see on top of this device. And I suppose that was one problem, that they had to do this and try and set it up, and that was cumbersome. And the second problem was they had this, I suppose it's a piece of science, which was very clever, but it didn't look quite like a product, and they wanted to take it out to people to look for additional funding. So we worked with them over a number of, over a couple of months really, and helped them develop this, which is really, in many respects, is a really simple framework for their product, but it allowed them to have a level of consistency that they didn't have with their device, which they had to set up each time, so it was highly accurate, but it also looked much, much more like a product, and it helped them pitch this for further investment and funding. One of the areas that we've become involved in a lot over the last couple of years, and we've developed a lot of expertise in, is 3D printing. And in-house, in terms of our machines, there might be people out there who know a little bit about 3D printing, but we've got FDM machines, SLA machines, sintering machines. We've just received, we've just had delivery of a new sintering machine for plastic. And we're delighted to announce that we've actually just had about 200,000 euros in funding for a metal 3D printer, which we hope will arrive in the next couple of months. So that's really exciting. And this is an area that we're actively, I suppose, expanding in. This project is, again, it's complex. I won't attempt to explain it all, but we're contacted by a researcher in the Focus Institute, and they were working on developing, I suppose, better training devices for a prostate kind of medical process. And effectively what they wanted to do was create realistic fake prostates, which could be used in training devices, basically. What they wanted to do was base them on real patient data. So what we were able to do for them was actually take real ultrasound images of real actual patients. Well, they gave us the information, but we took that information and we developed it into 3D models, which we were then able to 3D print. And from the files, we then reverse engineer them into molds, which they were able to use to create realistic prostate replicas with a material called a tissue mimicking material. And again, this was something that I suppose they came to us with the problem. It's quite different to a lot of the other stuff I've shown you, but we were able to help them through our ability to actually make things, solve problems, and use our tools and equipment. I'm going to skip through things really quickly, but just to give you ideas of the types of things we do. We've worked with a company called Water Stations Ireland to help them develop an outside water station. A completely unusual one again for us was a company called McGovern's Ecclesiastical, who we helped them design a shrine for churches, basically. And again, they're a very successful company who had been in the sector for a long time and needed help in developing a shrine with very particular kind of things that they wanted to achieve. We've done things with wireless chargers and electronics, and we worked with a company to develop wireless charging and also kind of interactive surfaces for things like restaurants and hospitality sector. And the last project I'm going to tell you about is a company called Ergoji. And this is kind of interesting one because the project, we received the final prototype of this project several months ago now, just right at the start of lockdown. But the project has been going on for years and the company is called Ergoji. And we started, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, with an innovation voucher, and they wanted us to help them develop a sit-stand desk for educational environments. And the idea was, well, you know, at work, increasingly, people are beginning to realize the importance of actually movement and agility and that kind of thing. And it should be the same as well for educational environments. So we started off the first voucher with helping them develop and make and actually prototype a really simple kind of sit-stand desk that could be manufactured at a cost. And then we started working on it, we developed it further, and we actually kind of tested it a bit out on our own students. And we went through a series of prototypes and iterations with them, and actually also with another external manufacturer in Germany. And I suppose to give you an idea of where it's got to now, I'm just going to play you a very short little video. And this is me working at home. What we discovered was, although this product was designed for, oops, let me turn that down, primarily for kind of educational environments, offices, that kind of thing, we actually found it worked really well for working at home as well, because it's got quite a small kind of footprint. It's mobile, it's easy to use, and it can fold away. And like I said, this is me working on it exactly where I am now. I suppose with this project, it went on a little bit beyond the innovation vouchers. We had 3 innovation vouchers, but also there was work done with the manufacturer as well, externally on a private funding basis, basically. And that's kind of it. I'm not sure, Danielle, where I am with time, but
I think you're just right on
like
time.
to answer any questions.
Yep, you're just right on time.
Oh, very
sorry,
good.
I have an echo of myself. That's why it's sounding strange to me. Anyways, so you have one question that's popped in here. Do you and the team offer advice on UI software design, or are you more focused on helping with designing physical products?
We are more help. I suppose mostly what we do is physical products, but we do have a couple of interaction designers who work with us in our department. And so depending on what it is, we may be able to help. Yeah. And
Okay.
also, I know we have other colleagues in the university as well who we could, if we're not able to help, we'd be delighted to put you in contact as well with.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, John. That's a great presentation. And again, if anybody has some more queries, just let us know and we'll pass them on to John. So I believe Sabine is going to step in now to introduce our next speaker.
Yes, thank you, John. We would like to welcome now Dr. Lubna Hamid of the Food Innovation Lab. Thank you.
Thanks, Sabine. I hope everyone can hear me and also see me. Thank you so much for this opportunity today. And it was a great discussion before that with Shauna with the panel, and then John was explaining about Create Lab. So lovely to hear about all these works. And I'm sure that from today's event, everyone will be very much information. They will get everything. So further delay, I am going to explain what we do in Food Innovation Lab. We are in a Food Innovation Lab in TU Dublin, and we are currently based in Cahill Street and Sackville Place, but we are going to move to Grange Government very soon. And I will show you my presentation, and in that way I can explain you much better. So here you go. Okay. So if you can see that, yes, so my name is Lubna Ahmed, and I am the principal investigator and manager of Food Innovation Lab. You can see in the screen that is my website link, and we are based, as I said, in School of Food Science and Environmental Health, and we are currently based in Sackville Place. I have my phone number and email address for your contact later on. So what we basically do, we basically work with any food product and beverage product. So if you have a product development, we can go from idea generation to until product launch. We help the companies for that. We also do food and beverage optimization. So if you have a product and you're not happy with that, we can work on that. We also do the nutritional or any kind of chemical analysis for food and beverage. We do also the market feasibility, that if you have a product, if you think that it will be in market, how is it possible to launch, or how it is possible to bring to a business. So we do work on that as well. We have a skilled and expertise team members in our Food Innovation Lab who are very much experienced in food and beverage product development. And we also are opening up in cutting edge facilities, research expertise in TU Dublin different campuses. We offer our expertise from our college to the companies. For the responding of the needs of the industry, we specialize in new product development in the nutritional and safety assessment. We also work with specific ingredients. We also work with sensory analysis. We can provide even you the new product ideas. So if you want to have a startup company and you do not have any idea what food background, we can also help you in that. We help you in troubleshoot of technical issues, also provide training and advice with regards of food safety and allergen content. So our goal is actually to help the company to enhance any kind of support we can give there and to contribute to this workers' reputation of Irish food and drink sector. How does it work? How we help in this case and how we proceed to work? So every time when a company comes to us, our team work closely with each client. And so we sit for initial meetings. Then anytime during the work, we prepare the project plan. We discuss with them that what was the issues and what they are looking for and what type of funding they are going through. And we also do different types of funding, for example, government funding, private funding, or collaborative funding schemes. So we help them with that as well. As we said, we can develop the product for you, or we can optimize the product for you, or even to give you the idea. Okay, so we have a huge range of expertise and labs and equipments. This Food Innovation Lab works with our award-winning Knowledge Transfer and Incubation Center, TU Dublin Hothouse, the one that we are working to do with Open Lab. The Hub of Innovation, TU Dublin Hothouse, has extensive experience and success in partnering with the industries on research, collaboration, and consultancy. So for our work, there will be a charge for our service, but this will be on the basis of case-to-case studies. So we charge depending on what type of work we are going to do. And our areas of expertise of new food and beverage development. So we work from idea generation, we work in the labeling, we work in the production process, we work for advertisement, we work for your concept. If you have a prototype, we work through the trial, we work with consumer sensory analysis, or even expert training panel in our in-house companies. We work, if you have a product and you are thinking to go for a larger scale production, we help in that. We help you also for example, for market research of your competitor products. We also help you if there is any commercial machineries you are looking for. So we can do that research as well. We a very important work we do is that the shelf life. So if it is a food product and you want to determine what is the shelf life of your product, we do that. We also do changing in processing or packaging or ingredient analysis, and then we help you to extend your shelf life. So those type of work we do. We also do different quality and nutritional characteristics of your product, full nutritional characteristics or full quality determination. We also do accelerated shelf life and full shelf life studies. We do food safety. If you have an ingredient, for example, in your product, or you're thinking that, and you think that is it possible to use it and commercialize it in European Union, so we check that for you. We also do the market feasibilities and all the supports for a startup to the big companies. We are TU Dublin is in the city campus, so we are have labs in Carlbrugge Street. We also work in the city campus Sackville Place. In Carlbrugge Street, we have culinary arts and food technology, we have hospitality, we have management and tourism, we have analytical chemistry lab and microbiology lab for nutritional analysis, we have kitchen. And in Sackville Place, we have a very huge food processing lab and sensory analysis lab. And also we do over there the market segment studies. And we are moving to Grangegorman. This is a huge food processing hall over there. So we have laboratories over there with high incubation for shelf life studies, high performance liquid chromatography for nutritional analysis, for a startup incubation and commercialization space also there. We also work in city campus Kevin Street. So from there we get the lab support with microscopy and spectroscopy for a range of research and activities. So who is in that team? So I'm going to introduce you, my colleagues. Though today I am going to speak only, but we have Dr. Catherine Barry Ryan, she is the coordinator and principal investigator of Food Innovation Lab. And Catherine, we call Rina, she was my supervisor from my PhD. And I came to Ireland to do my PhD, and then I fell in love and the work goes well. So I did my postdoc, my family started, my kids happened, I started working in the school. And now with this research center, I'm fully involved in here, and this is my home now. So with this talking about Rina Catherine Barry-Rand, Dr. Catherine Barry-Rand. She has 20 years of experience in product development and sensory evaluation. She's the senior lecturer in TU Dublin and huge expertise in this area. Then this is me, Lubna Ahmed. I'm the principal investigator and manager. So my role is to manage the Food Innovation Lab and all the projects I do with my students, with my research assistants, and then I as well. So I am working, my PhD was in product development. I work for microbiology and sensory evolution of food and beverage. Then we have Dr. Jesus Frias. He is the academic leader of Environmental Sustainability and Health Institute in ASHE in Grange Government. So as an academic leader of this ASHE, Jesus provides leadership to ensure that it grows the research output, and including peer review publications, commercialization and HPSCUs, policy inventions, interventions, so capacity, capability, and profile, and also its cognate research areas. So his task is to provide a strategic and academic directions to the research institute and its researchers and graduate students. Then we have Dr. Paul McGuire. You have already listened to him in the morning. So he is the head of the innovation and enterprise at Hothouse, TU Dublin. So Paul has an extensive experience in the startup environment, both in the private and higher educational sector. And as a head of innovation and enterprise, Paul provides strategic and managerial leadership for knowledge transfer, innovation and enterprise support across TU Dublin City campus. And the partnership comprises the Dublin Region Innovation Consortium. We have Dr. Shauna Johnston, and you have already heard her in this great panel session. Shauna, thank you so much. It was really informative, and I'm really sure that all the companies over today here present, they will get all this information. It's very beneficial, they will find it. So Shauna is the supporting technology transfer for TU Dublin by engaging industry and research partners to develop the collaborative projects and assisting with funding opportunities for this. It's actually great today in the morning. He was saying that it's the matchmaking. It's right that if a company comes to TU Dublin Hothouse, then Shauna finds out that who will be the best to help this company. So, and then she approaches us if it is a food and beverage product. We have in the team Dr. Roshin Borg, principal investigator, and she is the senior lecturer in the molecular gastronomy and culinary science in the School of Culinary Arts and Food Technology in TU Dublin. And Roshin has 25 years of experience, and she is the best in food product development. So Roshin has a very big expertise in that. Then we have Dr. Orla Cahill. She is the microbiologist and specialist in food safety, and she is also a lecturer in food science and technology, environmental health school, and she has expertise with allergen management. So she knows everything about the food ingredients and allergen content. So I am going to explain you a little bit now, though all this food and beverage product, these companies, they are highly confidential, and we have worked with them, and these are their products. So I am not going to explain very much detail into their product, how I have worked, but I can explain that how I have helped them in their product funding. So currently we are working with European Commission funded project, two projects actually. One is LHOPE and the other one is Up for Health. And over here there are 12 in these two projects, there are 12 SMEs involved in with us and all over the Europe, and we are working with the two very novel ingredients over there. And this will be this started last year in the pandemic, and it is going well. And I'm hoping there will be many PhD students start working also with us. We have 2 PhD students in TU Dublin under my supervision, and there will be also many other researchers involved in that.
Thank you very much, Lubna. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have to keep to a very tight schedule. I just have one question for you, and again, if you could try to answer very quickly, if you don't mind, and we can give further details if anybody wants by emailing us at hothouse@tudublin.ie. So the first question is, what would be the best way to approach the Food Innovation Lab for a startup company with only an idea of food product? I think you've covered some of this already.
Yes, for example, I can explain the in the panel there was V-Face Burger today. Sarah explained that she wanted to have her own patties, and she has prepared her product, and we helped her in that. So we helped her in preparing the product, and also she had the first innovation voucher, as she said that we are going for second innovation vouchers, and then you can go for a third one. And not only in innovation vouchers, you can go for more in the high potential startups. So to expand that, to approach, even if you have idea, no background, you can contact us and contact Shauna, and I will show you here my email and contact details. So, and we can discuss that how we can go further, and I can help you from the idea generation to the product launch. So that will be not an issue, that if you do not have any idea, just a vague a product idea, that this can be good, and we can go from market research to launch, and to the production process, everything.
Thank you, Lubna, for taking the time out to speak with us this morning about the Food Innovation Lab. It's very much appreciated.
Thank
Lubna,
you.
could you stop sharing your screen, please? Thank you very much again for your presentation. So now, just sharing my camera here with you guys. Hopefully you can see me. My name is David Gardner, and I'm a licensing executive with TU Dublin Hothouse. I'm here with you this morning to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Brian Vaughan. Now, Dr. Brian Vaughan set up and is the head of the Virtual Interactive Research Lab at TU Dublin. The lab offers cutting-edge virtual and augmented reality research and development expertise to industry. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Brian, and we'll have a couple of questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen. I'll start my presentation with you. So my name is Dr. Brian Vaughan. I am the head of the Virtual Interaction Research Lab. So this is a mixed reality research lab and development space. So when we were in Angel Street, we had a very big custom-built space in a room within a room to provide soundproofing and isolation for kind of detailed research in the area of mixed reality. We're very much focused on the applied application of immersive technologies. We kind of take a lot of the learnings and outcomes from our own research and from what we teach on our master's courses and games courses, and apply this in a very applied manner. We have some PhD and postdoctorate level research. So one of the most recent kind of research outputs was kind of the world's first Irish language learning VR application called GaelTech VR. And we engage in collaborative industry projects via Open Labs and Hothouse. We worked very close with them in working with industry on collaborative projects. So some of the projects we've worked on over the last few years, we've worked with Intel on VR fab simulation training. We've worked with Susan, who was speaking earlier, on from Biopharmachem SkillNet on VR aseptic techniques simulation training. We've worked with the Matter Private on virtual reality operating room fire safety simulation training. We're also doing some further pharmaceutical simulation training with Servier. We've looked at and developed augmented reality application for cultural heritage with Guinness Storehouse, augmented reality for e-commerce with In-Flight Dublin. We've also looked at using augmented reality for product visualization for interior design company Igloo. We've developed VR meditation and visualization applications in conjunction with Gaia. And as I mentioned before, we internally developed as part of our PhD research project, a VR Irish language learning application. And the interesting thing about all these, as I'll speak about shortly, is, you know, we take a lot of our learnings from the kind of academic sphere and use them to inform, you know, these industry collaborations, but also works vice versa. So, you know, GaelTech VR, we're looking at how we can take some of the learning outcomes from that, some of the very robust and interesting findings around the use of VR for not just language learning, but learning in general, and how we can apply that in a lot of the kind of simulation training research that we do. And so the question a lot of people ask is, why would you collaborate with us? Well, because we have this pedagogical expertise, we have this understanding of how people learn and why people learn the way they do, and we can incorporate that and instantiate that into VR, AR, and mixed reality simulations. You know, we teach things like user interaction design, game design, sound design, Unity development, which is you know, essentially C# programming that gives you the real power to build deeply engaging and immersive applications. So we teach these things at master's level, degree level, and at PhD level. You know, we've got research into game design and how people learn through games. Sound design has emerged as a vitally important aspect of especially VR, because you can really sell the virtual environment, so to speak, through the use of sound. So visuals are important, but actually what a lot of the research has found is you don't need to have massively high fidelity visuals. What you have to have is an environment that works and looks or approximates the look of the environment that someone will be working within. And as long as it responds to the user in a realistic manner, but more importantly, as long as it sounds realistic or has a sound design that is representative of that environment, it's accepted as a reality. It helps with the immersion and the engagement. So we combine these to deliver immersive, engaging, and effective mixed reality experiences. And this is one of the things that, you know, game design is particularly useful for, because game designers are excellent at engaging people and immersing people in, you know, fictional worlds, essentially. So even if you're building a virtual reality simulation that is based on a real world environment, it's still a fictional environment, and you have to do a lot of things to convince the user that this is a real environment, essentially. And game design is excellent at that. So we take a very game design approach in terms of how we design things so that they're engaging and immersive for the user. But like I said, it works both ways. So we apply our research outcomes and expertise to collaborative industry projects, but we also learn and develop from this engagement. So industry, in many cases, is forging ahead in adopting innovative new technologies and practices. And, you know, we never say, well, look, we have all the answers, we know how to do everything. We always say engaging with industry is a two-way process. We learn a huge amount about how industry does things, and not even in terms of how they are using, say, these new immersive technologies, but how they, say, train people up on complex bits of machinery, how they train and engage people up on complex processes in, you know, mission critical and safety critical environments like pharmaceutical clean rooms, like fabrication plants like they have in Intel. So we learn from this, and we bring these learning outcomes into our own research. So we take these learning outcomes, say, oh, this is very interesting, this can help inform our research, and vice versa. Our research outcomes can help inform our industry collaborations as well. So it's very much a two-way street. It's not very much us saying, here's all the answers, come work with us, we can solve everything. It is very much a collaboration in the true sense of the words. One of the things I think that the lab is really good at, and one of the questions we always get asked is, why is mixed reality technology useful? What can it do? What can it not do? So knowing what it can't do and what it's not good at is just as important as knowing, well, what it can do. And this is a question we get asked all the time. So a lot of our work isn't even just developing applications, engaging in research and design. It's helping companies understand why they might need this technology, how they can incorporate it into their current work practices and production workflows, but also equally important, why they don't need it, why they can't incorporate it, why it isn't necessary, maybe at this moment in time or at all. And that's just as important as knowing how you can use it. So the kind of three broad approaches and the three reasons we say mixed reality technology is useful is kinesthetic learning, situated learning, and this concept of cognitive distance. So in a nutshell, kinesthetic learning is learning by physically carrying out the action. And this is an approach that says, look, learning is embedded in the physical actions. You learn by doing, very much like an apprenticeship style way of doing things, where you're put in a situation, you're shown how to do things, and you learn through the doing. So you can sit and read about how to repair a complex engine, whether it's in a car or an aircraft or another complex piece of machinery, but the real learning is in the doing, is in the physical movements and interactions. That sits very well with this concept of situated learning, where you put learners in authentic situations to learn from the situation they're in, learn from the doing, and learn from engaging in a virtual community of practice. So one of the things that we do, and this is where I suppose the academic and research side of things can be very useful and informative in terms of industry collaborations, is we know how to gather user data. We know how to, question users, interview users, carry out questionnaires, quantitative and qualitative methods to understand what users do, how they do it, what are the pain points with the current ways of doing things, and what are the potential solutions to those. And we can use these to basically create, this virtual community of practice. So realistic virtual environment in the case of VR, where the world responds accurately to the interactions and actions of the user in a way that is very much identical or as close an approximation as you can get to the real world environment. So you put them in this community of practice that is analogous to the real world community of practice, going into the situation, carrying out the actions, engaging with people who understand how to do those and who teach them how to do it. And then the third element is this idea of cognitive distance. This is something that augmented reality, mixed reality, something like the HoloLens 2 was excellent at, is it reduces the distance between this, the abstract 2D learning space and the 3D application space. So moving from, your complex manuals or your PowerPoint presentations or your Word documents, conceptualizing that, extrapolating that into a 3D representation of what you have to do or applying it in a real world context. There's a certain level of cognitive effort involved in that. And what AR is great at doing is saying, well, here's this information presented right on top of the thing that you're working on. It reduces that distance from the learning material or the material you need to know and the application of it. VR is very good at it as well, but that all depends on how you design the environment and how immersive and engaging it is. With AR and mixed reality technologies, because the environment is essentially the physical environment you're in, you don't have that same consideration. And so the application of the learning material is much more straightforward and easy. So these are the kind of three elements that we will always say make mixed reality technology useful, and why it's useful for learning and training and engaging users in complex actions. So just kind of some examples of some of the work we've done. So kind of some of the work we're working on at the moment around aseptic training in pharmaceutical clean rooms is taking kind of, very detailed learning material and instantiating in a manner that's interactive and engaging, so that you have those kinesthetic elements, so that you have those interactive elements, and you have those engaging elements. So you can apply the learning material in a very interactive manner. Some other examples of some of the work we've done is this you see here with the work we did with in-flight entertainment around e-commerce, around visualization of items for sale and duty free. So you could almost try before you buy. So in this case here, the top image is a band you can put on your wrist and visualize, one of the watches for sale, for example, through their online system. The Gwail Talk VR, where you move around a virtual shopping environment or given tasks in Irish and have to engage with the physical objects or the virtual representations of the physical objects. But these virtual objects tell you how to spell the terms in Irish, give the pronunciation of the terms. You can relate it directly back to the task at hand. And then, our fire safety training stuff, we've done two various versions of that, and just kind of general fire safety demo, and then a more detailed one for operating theatre environments. So the biopharma stuff combines kind of learning material, standard learning material presented in the VR environment with some engaging immersive elements. So 3D models you can click on and engage with, animations visualizing the concepts that are presented to the user, tasks that require you to follow things in a very clear manner. So one of the things VR is not good at is muscle memory. So it's not at the stage yet where you're able to carry out the tasks exactly as you would in a real world environment. And there's a number of reasons for that, mainly down to the fact that, you know, there's no physicality in terms of when you touch things and grab things. You're using controllers, so there's a certain amount of approximation involved in the interaction. There is a lot of advancements with hand tracking, but it's not quite there yet. So it's not great for muscle memory, for doing the repetitive action. I suppose that behaviorist approach of you just learn by doing it over and over. But what it is very good at is for getting people to understand how to follow a set of standing operating procedures and all the elements that are involved in that. So for example, you know, in any sort of clean room environment, whether it's, you know, pharmaceutical or whether it's manufacturing, you know, CPU manufacturing, you know, hand washing and hygiene and all the various techniques that you have to follow in terms of getting ready to go into these very clean, very important mission critical environments. That's vital. You know, one of those steps not followed can lead to contamination, which has huge knock-on effects. So one of the things VR is great for is getting people to understand and follow these steps in a practical, engaging manner. So hand washing, putting your hands in the sink, following through the steps, making sure that you're following all the steps in the right order. You can give immediate feedback to people about their performance. You can prevent people from moving from one step to the next. So there's a range of options depending on the context that can be used to inform the user in a very deep and meaningful way. So it's a difference between, you know, reading all the steps on paper in bullet point and actually engaging
Brian,
in the steps.
Terribly sorry to interrupt
ways.
you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but I want to say thank you very much. It's always great to hear what you're up to in the virtual reality lab. There is just one question that's come in, if you could answer, please. And it's, have you used AR or VR in mobile applications? Thank you.
So the examples I gave, so the Guinness Storehouse Cultural Heritage app was mobile based, so it was iOS and Android. And that was very much a kind of visualization of cultural artifacts related to the Guinness Storehouse at specific locations in Dublin that they related to. And that was essentially in conjunction with a walking tour that really brought, I suppose, the tour to life and gave people a really kind of engaging, immersive experience. The in-flight stuff, the kind of e-commerce stuff was all mobile. And again, the use case on that was, this is the device that everyone has in their pocket, the easiest thing to use rather than having to use like another device. You know, when we talk about mixed reality, what we're really talking about is HoloLens 2, where you have a very powerful piece of kit, very expensive, that requires you to put something on your head. Augmented reality on mobile is very powerful in terms of everyone has access to it, and there is a huge amount you can do on it. So we have done a good bit in terms of augmented reality on mobile devices.
That's terrific. Thank you so much, Dr. Brian Vaughan, and thank you, David. My name is Orla Reynolds. I'm one of the administrators with the New Frontiers program, and I'm going to introduce our next speakers, who are Dr. Adrian Fleming and Dr. Mary Deasy from Micra and Cash. Are you there?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, morning. Okay, I'm just going to try and share the slideshow. That's just going to roll in the background. Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay, hi, thank you, Orla. Yes, I'm Mary Deasy. I manage the Centre of Applied Science for Health, more commonly referred to as the Cash Centre. Anyway, despite the lack of money, I suppose, and it's one of 3 research institutes in TU Dublin that were set up from HEA PRTLI funding, and we were funded under Cycle 4 back in 2007 and opened our doors in 2012. And we're located in Tallaght in South County Dublin. So we're a number umbrella centre which is steered by principal investigators across the Department of Applied Science in the health area. And we carry out in this centre research in areas such as design and synthesis of novel therapeutics. We work with design of new drug delivery and formulation systems, biomedical sensors and devices, implant and biomaterial design for hospitals, and the development of new energy systems for the future. For example, the next generation of nanostructured solar cells. And we also have an anechoic chamber in the centre as well. We work with smart sensors based on microfluidic systems and other nanostructures, and our aim is to create a connected system of research and innovation to bring our findings closer to clinical and commercial settings. And as a technological university, we're very much attracted to the applied research and product development part of our remit, and we've been doing that as follows since 2006. And outputs from fundamental research within the Department of Applied Science and CASH has also led to the establishment of MICRA back in 2006, and this is now a successful Enterprise Ireland funded technology gateway providing diagnostic solutions and products to support SMEs. MICRA expertise is centred on the development of rapid and portable electrochemical sensors, specifically focusing on uses in bio and immuno, environments, and the development of chemical sensors as well. We've developed sensors for detection of all sorts of microbes and nasty organisms and viruses. We have a class 2 micro lab as well, which allows us to work with that. We've developed sensors based on micromarkers for a variety of diseases and for a lot of other kind of projects in the space that kind of are associated, I suppose, with the agri-food, pharma, and the general kind of industrial sector that uses materials for sure. So I suppose in terms of our expertise, I suppose we have within CASH and MICRA, we kind of have up to about 30 PIs from the department, and about half of those are also PIs in MICRA, which is the technology gateway. We have in excess of 200 peer-reviewed journal publications, over 15 invention disclosures and 5 patent filings at the moment, and over 55 PhD graduates to date and 60 innovation vouchers. And we do a lot of work, I suppose, in the analytical services research space as well. And we have set up a joint offering in that regard across MICRA and CASH to allow us to provide services, troubleshooting, problem solving, product development, process development, and technology transfer solutions for agri-food, dairy, medical device and pharma sectors under the following 5 themes. Materials characterization, where we have projects that work with particle size distribution, powder and liquid rheology. We can do thermal profiling using TGA and DSC, and a lot of these pieces of equipment are rolling in the slideshow behind me. We have a suite of high-spec chromatography mass spectrometry systems with the GC mass spec, LC mass spec, ultra-high HPLC, and we've recently been awarded EI funding in the 2020 capital call for what we think is a first in Ireland for a TG IR GC mass spec triply integrated system to allow us to do a lot more work in the evolved gases space for the pharma and medical device sectors. Within MICRA itself, we have a sensor prototype lab, which allows for the rapid design and test of electrochemical and microfluidic systems. Facilities include chip and electrode design systems with CAD software, screen and inkjet printers, and other pieces that allow for electrode design, modification, coating and fabrication. We have a solid and proven track record in service provision and commercial R&D across CASH and MICRA, and some of our facilities have become a local hub for problem-solving projects, testing and measurement, process and product optimization and validation work for some of the following companies, and I'm really just going to talk about ones in the last 12 months. We've had about 5 projects with Mallinckrodt in their process R&D in their drug delivery systems. We've carried out stability testing on a number of projects for Medifil. They're a medical device company. We've worked with Kingspan on 2 or 3 projects with around foam aging using thermal analysis, and with Castus. We've developed early screening tests to determine antimicrobial resistance of coatings, and that has been in conjunction with Crest. And with Lakeland Dairies, we've done a lot of work on rheology for them, for their semi-solid products, and designed and developed fast and cost-effective and easy-to-use sensors for testing of residual inorganic compounds in their milk products and powders. And we've worked on a longer project with Lambia on the development of an LC mass spec trace component method for the analysis of unusual components that shouldn't be present in milk powders. So we've a lot of experience over the last, I suppose, 15 years in this space, particularly in the area of materials nanotechnologies, electrochemistry, sensors, rapid sensors, water quality and toxicity sensors, and prototype fabrication. In the last 2 years, we've secured up to $1 million in funding, had up to 150 projects, and within the analytical services research space in the last 2 years, we've had 24 projects. So we also have strong expertise in the pharmaceuticals and biotechnology space, and many of our academics have worked in industry before joining Tala, and I'm going to invite Dr. Adrienne Fleming now to discuss those activities.
Thanks, Mary. So, as Mary said, my name is Adrienne Fleming. I'm an academic in the Department of Applied Science, and I'm a lead PI in the National Pharmaceutical Education Centre, and in that I also have a role as a business development partner in the Office of Business and Industry in TU Dublin. The Office for Business and Industry provides a single point for contact with TU Dublin Tala for our external stakeholders, regardless of size, who may have a query relating to industry-based research projects, industry training, consultancy, or equipment that we may have available for use. As Mary said, there's a slideshow rolling there, so you'll see some of the capabilities of the National Pharmaceutical Education Centre, which was established within the Department of Applied Science from funding received under the National Development Plan back to the early noughties, so 2000 to 2006. And this funded an integrated pilot-scale biopharmaceutical technology facility, and it was very much designed with a strong emphasis in the support of teaching, training, research and development, and indeed looking at industrial application. We also received funding in 2019 through an EI capital call, which allowed an upgrade to aspects of the facility. So the facility currently supports research carried out in the areas of bio and cell technology and also process analytical technology. Within the centre, we have a pharmaceutical area, which includes a liquid formulation suite with mixing vessels with capacities of up to 500 litres. We have a biopharmaceutical area with a series of fermenters ranging from 2 litres to 100 litres. And also currently being installed, we're actually looking at a clean room facility. Pilot lab has fermentation capabilities of up to 100 litres capacity, and with steam in place and clean in place facilities. And as part of this lab, there's a 10 litre system and a 2 litre quad fermentation unit. And this quad system is currently set up for microbial cell culture, but also has microspargers and marine type impellers so that we can convert to animal cell culture. All the fermenters have pH, dissolved oxygen, turbidity, gas analysis, which feed back to our control system for data handling. And in the downstream processing area, there's a centrifuge, there's a TFF unit of 30 litres scale, and we also have a chromatography unit for purifying the product depending on the process. So we also within the facility have limited wave technology and disposable bag systems for animal cell culture. Supporting the pilot plant, we have a technology transfer lab, which includes a small-scale chemical reactor system. We have a prep HPLC system, the suite of formulation equipment, including a granulator, fluidized bed dryer system, homogenizer, all of the tableting equipment, for formulation and also the testing equipment. There's also the supporting process analytical laboratory, but Mary's already alluded to that in her talk there. The two aspects to the work that we carry out in the Pharma Centre, apart from the fact that it plays a significant role in our teaching programmes, but both undergraduate and postgraduate, we involve ourselves very much in workforce development with the industry and also in development projects in the pilot plant facility. The Centre has demonstrated over the years to be very successful in preparing and indeed developing students who are in undergraduate programs, but also from the industry in their careers. And the relationship between college and industry has proved to be hugely beneficial to both the university and to industry. The initiatives for individuals from the industry mean that they can develop themselves and still work in industry. And for the university, it means we've huge input into our undergraduate and postgraduate programs from industry. We're very conscious technology is constantly evolving. So as a science department, we're trying to ensure that our capabilities meet industry's expectations. As I mentioned, we work a lot with industry from a workforce development perspective, and we're working with a number of the leading pharma and biopharma companies at the moment, training their staff in various manufacturing technologies. And although the students at the moment aren't able to access our facility because of COVID times, we've been able to utilise, I suppose, for want of a better way of putting it, virtual walk-downs, and it's been something that has proved to be quite beneficial for us at this time. The facility has and is being utilised by a number of companies who wish to use the functionality in order to assist them with their development projects using, for example, the suite of our fermenters. As I said, we have 2 litres up to 100 litres capacity, and looking for them to be able to scale up their processes and also looking at process optimization studies. An example of that would have been in recent times where a company used the facility as they wanted to scale up their process. They wanted to test the upstream and the downstream technologies and capabilities in order for them to understand their process further. It allowed them to de-risk, ultimately the scale up they required, but also for them to allow their staff to get hands-on experience of working with the large scale equipment. I hope some of what I've said there has given you an insight into the available resources and capabilities within our facilities. And indeed, I'm happy to deal with any queries subsequent to today. I know Mary has our details on one of those slides. I know, back to Mary for literally 1 minute, Orla, or half a minute. Mary, you're on mute.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I had forgotten to mention that we also have advanced spectroscopies in addition to the usual UV and all the rest of it. We have 2 NMRs and we have IR that works in the near, mid and far regions.
Sorry, Mary, I'll have to interrupt you there because we are over time.
Okay, can I just mention one thing? Just to point out that in terms of funding, because an awful lot of people usually kind of want to know about that. We engage with companies in many different ways, and we are happy for people to directly fund R&D projects. We accommodate innovation vouchers and work with companies on innovation partnerships.
That is one of the questions, actually. Do you work with startups as well as larger companies?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, that is fully the remit of Micra in its own capacity as well, to work with smaller companies and also to work with startup companies. So, and those projects can be directly funded, innovation vouchers. We can work with Enterprise Ireland on lots of different kind of funding mechanisms. And in addition to that, TU Dublin has an annual call for academics to work with business and industry for co-funded projects, and also has a scheme, a part-time scholarship scheme for industry-based, people who want to apply to do a master's, if that's something people would like. We've had work with some startup companies for sure of late within Micra, particularly on the sensor side, and we're always happy to discuss options for sure in that space.
Okay, thanks a million, Mary and Adrian, for that very interesting overview of Micra and Cash Centre in Tala. So my name is Andrew Marsh. I work in the Knowledge Transfer Office in Hothouse in City Campus. And I'd like to introduce the next research group, which is CREST. It's our surface coatings lab in Kevin Street in the Focus building. And I'd like to introduce my colleague Brendan Duffy and his team there.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, folks. My name is Brendan Duffy, and I'm the Centre Manager here in CREST, which is based in Focus, just behind Kevin Street here in TU Dublin. I'm just going to share the screen on top. I'm just making sure, Andrew, you can see that there?
Yeah, see that, Brendan?
I'm going to give a presentation on CREST and the technology gateways. And it's a brief overview, so we're going to just jump through a couple of different projects here that we have ongoing in CREST. In summary, I'm going to give an introduction then to CREST and technology gateways. So CREST and Micro, which was mentioned there by Mary beforehand, are both technology gateways. These basically are dedicated research centres spread out across Ireland through 15 of these spread out through the IoTs and the technological universities, and provide a range of different services from testing in small cases then up to product development, and also helping companies from one-man bands up to multinationals. So there's a wide spectrum there. And as far as technology gateways are concerned, our funder is Enterprise Ireland. We have an onus to help everybody from across the spectrum. So as you can see there, we also have innovation vouchers. So I'll just give a quick case study. We're looking at a DTIF, which is the Disruptive Technology Innovation Fund. We also just have a couple of examples here on the Lab to Forecourt, where we develop products that have now gone out to the forecourt. And we were talking here about Volvo. And then we have a Lab to Spin Out case study, and it's a brief introduction then to CASIS, which was mentioned a couple of times earlier on. So just as a snapshot, CREST is a research centre based on looking at coatings and coating innovation. It's ISO 9001 accredited, and we have been since 2009. And we have about 15 staff at present, and we're hoping to increase that up to about 18 full-time staff later on within the year. We also have about, say, 10 postgrads. Some of these are shared between ourselves and other academics and other colleges. In terms of people, researchers involved, we would be involved with about, say, 10 academic PIs, but the majority of the work would be coming through the centre itself, through the full-time staff. We're involved with, say, 60 projects a year. It generates about €1 million in income, ranging from small jobs, which might be €200-300, up then to larger projects. We have a couple of examples here, or a few examples here. We have wind turbine coating, self-healing thermocadam, concrete systems, 3D printed medical device. We're looking at compostable coffee cups and novel printing systems. And we're also looking at interior finishes then on cars. So as you can see, the spectrum is quite wide. We have a wide range of material scientists, physicists, chemists, biologists here within the team. So we're able to help people across a wide sector. Very open to chat. So email details are there at the end of the presentation. As I mentioned, we're part of the Technology Gateways network. So I've got up here on screen basically a map of Ireland and where you're never too far away from help. So irrespective of where you're based, there will be people there to help you. So based around all the IoTs and the technological universities in Ireland. And what happens is we have what's called a referral system. So if you happen to talk to one centre like ourselves and you want to look at a food technology that obviously wouldn't be within our direct remit, we'd be able to redirect you and help you then find out who would be the best person to talk to and where they would be. Similarly, for instance, in the area of say radio frequency technologies, RF technologies, or intelligent systems, we'd be able to refer you maybe, for instance, to our colleagues then in IMAR who would be in Tralee. So there's 3 groups within that clusters. There's the Applied IoT, which will look after IoT systems, Internet of Things. There's EMD, which we're part of, which is going to be looking at engineering materials. And then there's the Irish Food Tech Group. So again, a lot of these contacts are available on technologygateways.ie. The web address is there at the end of the presentation. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of some of the fast services that we provide. This would be, for instance, under our paint testing service. So we're the approvals lab for the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, and we'd also do work for Transport Infrastructure Ireland. So for instance, we would look at steel coil and paint testing. So we have a series of different tests. So we'll be looking here at paint. These, believe it or not, then could be used on a wide range of different surfaces. It wouldn't have to be just on steel. We're also looking at these on household items. So for instance, if a person is developing a new household item and they want to know, well, if somebody's going to be handling this 3 times a day for 3 years, what kind of coating do I need to have in it? What kind of wear am I likely to see? Typical examples of this would be, for instance, we'd have corrosion testing, adhesion testing, bending testing, compliance testing, making sure everything is within spec. So it's a service that we work on. For instance, we're in the labs at the moment. We've been back since June. At the moment, for instance, we have some of our researchers then testing coatings that will be going on to the Lewis lines, making sure they're up to spec, just as an example. I'm also going to talk about an innovation voucher that we have going live. This is an example. We have about, say, 8 or 9 innovation vouchers live at any one time. But one of these is with a company called Venture Finishing. So Venture Finishing have a product that is basically for packaging. And they have a sensitive product, which I have here highlighted as sensitive product with the brand name hidden. This product then retails for several €100 and it has to be transported to the end user. The important thing is that it can't be shaken, it can't drop, it can't break, because obviously the value of it. So Venture Finishing developed these and have developed these cardboard packaging. And the idea being, as you can see there with the dotted lines, this is a sleeve on a piece of card. So we've got a polyethylene sleeve over card adhered in where you see the red dots or the red dashed outlines. The product itself then slides in, it folds, and then it's stored then within the outer casing, the outer box, and it's nice and stable. What the company wanted to do was, well, what else can we use this for? So they have one very good customer who'd like to develop others. So we were able to test the product here with a colleague of mine, Joe. He was able to go and show the limitations of the product as to how it could be wrapped. We, for instance, look at stress in different areas. We would also then carry out some testing, basically peeling it off, how much force can it withstand. So we're able to look at, for instance, tensile testing, we look at peak forces, plateaus, we look at the plastic material, how far will it stretch. So very interesting to us, but essential to the company, because what they want to do is find out, well, will this product actually last? So for instance, we went from looking at original designs where we have significant bending. We changed and had a look at different polymer or plastics that they could use, and we could see that it involved reduced bending. And as a result, the product was much more usable and basically has a wider audience and wider range of applications. So the testimonial from the company is very straightforward. Basically, they see us as being fundamental to their product development. So that was a nice review there, our testimonial from Patrick Gare there in Venture. Another project that we have ongoing at the moment would be a large project with, as I said, through the Disruptive Technology Innovation Fund. So this is eBambi, and it's a large project in collaboration with partners here in our other gateway partners here in SEAM in Waterford, along with Stryker Orthopedics in Cork, along with Shiva Medical, and a local company here in Dublin called Graph Engineering. We have a strong relationship with Graph over the years, and because of that, it was ideal that, for instance, they would be involved in this project. So what we do is we bring companies together into projects with other companies, and the expectation is that we'll develop something new along the lines, open up a project or a revenue stream for the company. This particular project is in relation to 3D printed metal implants, and the issue being that when an implant goes into the body, it can sometimes become loose. So there's a limited lifespan on some products. And what we're trying to do is then lengthen the lifespan. So for instance, we're looking at a leg pin going into the femur. We want to be able to make sure that stays and doesn't become loose, because about 15% of all surgeries then require replacement in a short space of time. It's painful. It's bad enough going in and doing it the first time, great relief when it comes out, but having to go through the process again is daunting for some people. So what we're doing is trying to improve the bone adhesion to metal. And that's some of the ongoing work that we're doing. It's looking at 3D printed materials. And what we're doing is we're going to anodize them and make sure that we put on growth promoters rather, that are going to facilitate bone growth onto metals. So as you can see, we have some very nice images here that Susan was able to develop through her new technique. She's able to get a variety of different surface porosities, which basically means, in short, that the bone has something to grow into rather than having a straight metal face. Following on from that, a colleague of mine, Mohammed, has been working with myself since 2006 on a range of different coatings. This has now been adapted for the automotive sector. So as you can see here, we're looking at two companies where we've seen this go to come to fruition. So we're developing coatings. We've developed coatings for Volvo cars. So if you have the XC60 since 2016, 2017, it will have a coating that would have been applied in Westmeath. The projects, and then we are also now working with Meyer, a Spanish company. Again, these are funded through one is direct research with the likes of Volvo, and the other one then is going to be international research that's funded through Enterprise Ireland through what's called the Eurostars program. There's a variety of programs out there. Some are complicated, some are very competitive, as in 1% success rates. Others are more favorable. So if you're looking for help, we'll be able to help out on that.
Hi, Brendan, this is Andrew here. Sorry, I'm going to have to hit you with a 2-minute warning here.
Okay. I'm going to finish very quickly. So we've ongoing projects with Meyer. As you can see here are some of the products and some of the car manufacturers that they work with. What we're doing is we're looking at environmental degradation on ABS and aluminium. So a very interesting topic. We came up with a solution here that involves coatings, about say 2 micron and 3 micron coatings, up to 5 micron coatings. But where did this all come from? Well, it came from the lab. So you can see here, we started off at a 10-liter level here in the Crest lab. We scaled that up into production facilities down in Carlow in TE Labs. And then that was since scaled up and used then in the factory in Westmeath in CNF Automotive. And it was up to 20,000 parts a day. And then that's all been directly exported to Volvo. Final 2 slides here is with a spin-out that we mentioned earlier on, which is the Castus. And Castus is we'll be working with ourselves quite heavily since the technology development. We're going back to guts of 10 years. And the IP was licensed to Castus from ourselves after working on 2 innovation vouchers, 2 Enterprise Ireland funded innovation partnerships, and we now have an EU project about to kick off as well. So again, it's a product that's been developed in the labs in Dublin, it's been produced in Kildare, and it's been exported to around the world. And in doing so, they hired some Crest staff to help them get this off the ground. So it's an example of where technology is developed. Not only do we give them the technology to exploit, we also then are able to facilitate that with staff. So any questions and follow-up, you have my details here on Crest DIT and on the technology gateways. Thank you very much.
Thanks a million, Brendan. We have time just for one quick question that came in there. So it's about the resourcing of projects. So you've got a big team there. So how do you decide on the resourcing for projects? If a company comes to you, who will work on their project? Will it be a student? Will it be yourself? Will it be a researcher?
Yeah, we wouldn't have students working on projects unless they're on long-term placements. But for instance, project students they would work on academic research. But we have, as I said, 15 staff. So depending upon the technology and the sector, we would have dedicated staff. We also work with other labs within TU Dublin. So for instance, some of our colleagues in Colibrew Street that would have been mentioned earlier on will be able to help out on projects that would be outside of what Crest would be able to do. So in short, we basically use everybody within the university itself as project partners. So there's no shortage of availability. Again, we can't do everything. We'll try to get you to the right person as quick as possible.
Okay, thanks a million, Brendan. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Gloria, who's going to introduce the next group.
Yeah. Thank you, Brendan, and thank you, Andrew. My name is Gloria. Gloria Rule. I'm one of the New Frontiers administrations here in TU Dublin. And I would like to welcome you, our last speaker, Trevor Portal. Trevor is the Operations and Business Developer Manager and the Collaboratory in TU Dublin. Trevor?
Good morning, Gloria. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is, as Gloria said, my name is Trevor Portal and I work with the Collaboratory. I'm just going to share my screen with you now. So hopefully you can see the screen there. Can you confirm that, Gloria?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so before I start, I'd just like to thank the Hothouse team in putting together a very interesting event today, and well done to all the speakers. Very informative, and an upswing of all these activities is that it gives everybody a great energy boost when we share ideas and we see what others are doing and how they're making great strides forward in their own areas. So I'm going to start with the collaboratory. So I'll give an introduction to it. The collaboratory, who we are. So the collaboratory is actually an innovation, technology, and industry solutions hub specializing in cybersecurity, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. The hub is co-located within the Learning and Innovation Centre, the Link, at the TU Dublin Blanchardstown campus. The collaboratory as a concept is very new, so we're new here. And the concept was developed by Claire McNamee and the Link Centre, and also with Dr. Anthony Keane, who is the head of the School of Informatics and Engineering on the Blanchardstown campus. So the collaboratory is co-funded by Enterprise Ireland under the Regional Enterprise Development Fund. 2021 is going to be our first year of real operational activity. 2020 was more preparatory. In the coming months, we'll develop a 6-person team. The team will consist of researchers and technicians. Overall, the collaboratory is about 3.6 million euros worth of funding over 3 to 5 years. So pretty much starting out. So I'll move through the presentation now. So the collaboratory, it says cybersecurity, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. And the question is, why cybersecurity, AI, and IoT all in one? So the way we would address that is it's generally accepted that the development of skills and capacities in AI and IoT technologies will be key drivers of competitiveness and innovation in the SME sector in particular. The policy document Future Jobs Ireland noted that as technology advancements result in new ways of doing business, emerging job roles will require new and different skill sets, particularly in AI and IoT. And concomitant with that progress in those two areas will be the absolute necessity to provide wraparound expertise in cybersecurity. So artificial intelligence and IoT present what we would call a kind of a threat vector in cybersecurity, in that there's areas of vulnerability there. And AI and IoT in particular, presents a broad kind of panoramic view of a landscape that's vulnerable to cybercrime. And that's why, if we're forging ahead with national policies in terms of AI and IoT developments, we need the concomitant supports of cyber security to protect against nefarious ne'er-do-wells who have bad ideas and want to attack our systems. So the collaboratory, our ambition, the collaboratory, we're going to strive to be a centre of national importance in cybersecurity, and we provide infrastructure, services, and expertise to help prepare Irish companies regionally and nationally to secure their businesses. The collaboratory will also be a catalyst and will enable and showcase Ireland's capabilities and dynamism in the areas of cybersecurity, AI, and IoT to support companies who want to extend their existing knowledge base. So what I'm saying here is that the collaboratory will have 2 strands. We're going to work with companies that don't specialize in cyber, and we can work with companies that do specialize in cyber. In Ireland, we're very lucky. In terms of our cybersecurity ecosystem, we're one of the leading ecosystems in Europe. Ireland is home to the top 5 cybersecurity companies in the world. Over 40 multinational companies have their cyber operation based in Ireland, and we have over 60 indigenous SMEs and startups that are specializing in cybersecurity. So the cybersecurity infrastructure and ecosystem in Ireland is really, really strong, really vibrant. We hope in time that the collaboratory will become a very valuable partner in that ecosystem and be a strong contributor to the infrastructure as well. So that's our ambition. And as we move forward then, our objectives, we want to be a key enabler and conduit for collaboration and co-creation between industry and TU Dublin. We'll make accessible the university's academic expertise, research and development capabilities, facilities and resources.
Hi, Trevor, apologies. I just wanted to interrupt you there. Are you clicking through your slides because we're only seeing the main screen?
You're only seeing the main screen?
Yeah, just the collaboratory.
Okay, apologies. So can you see the next one now?
We can, thank you very much.
Yeah, so look, I'll catch up. The text is on screen, we can follow up on it. So I'll jump to the last slide I was at. which is our ambition. I spoke about that. Our next one is the objectives. So our objectives, as I said, is to be a key enabler and conduit for collaboration and co-creation between industry and TU Dublin. We'll make accessible the university's academic expertise, research, and its capabilities. We'll also be there to support startup companies, SMEs, postgraduate researchers, postdoctoral researchers, and academics to develop knowledge clusters in order to contribute to cybersecurity in Ireland. If we look at the supports that we're going to provide to people that may be interested in working with us, we want to provide our partners, our industry partners, with research and development capacity, with skills development and technical development, as well as live testing facilities, prototyping facilities, and market development support in the areas of cybersecurity, and particularly around IoT and AI, where the interface with cyber. We'll develop structured and accredited industry training and skills programs and develop infrastructure across cybersecurity as well. And we try and deliver those packages to startups, SMEs, and multinational companies. So in the supports we can give supports from any size of a company, from a small startup to a large multinational company. And there's a maxim that is evident in cybersecurity, that if you don't think about cybersecurity at the start, it's very likely to catch you out at the end. So many people on this, or many attendees of this call, maybe starting out new with product developments, very small ideas. What we can do in the collaboratories, we can help those people with the cybersecurity aspects of their products to make sure that the products are fit for purpose and can't be manipulated by cyber criminals. Looking at our facilities, we're going to produce an industry-scale security operations centre, which will be a live test environment to train IT students and professionals how to defend against a cyber attack and manage threat events in a live simulator environment. On that as well, within that cyber security operations center, companies will be able to bring their prototype in, and we'll be actually able to unleash really the hounds of hell in terms of penetration testing to see whether their products are vulnerable to cyber criminals. So it'll be a real good stress test for new products to see where the vulnerabilities are and to see whether they're safe to bring to market. So we anticipate that will be very useful for companies from all backgrounds, not just companies specifying or specializing in cybersecurity, but any company that's developing products. We'll also have an IoT campus-wide testbed at scale. We'll have an 18-seat dedicated AI lab as well. We'll have an innovation makerspace that'll probably look around sensors around IoT. We'll have corporate training suites and a professional consultancy service as well for people to avail of. What I'd look at here is ENISA, which is the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, put out the top 15 cyber threats in 2020. We can see them there on screen. Malware is the top one. We're familiar with most of them. And that's what you're dealing with. It's across those 15 areas, and there's another 15 and another 15 after that we have to be aware of. And just want to look at the kind of global context of cybersecurity. In January, the World Economic Forum put out its global risk report for 2021, and it categorized one risk as a failure of cybersecurity measures, and it said it was a clear and present danger, and it was a likelihood to occur within the next 2 years. It defined that risk as business, government, and household cybersecurity infrastructures and our measures are outstripped or rendered obsolete by increasingly sophisticated and frequent cybercrimes, resulting in economic disruption, financial loss, geopolitical tensions, and our social instability. So from the perspective of people on this call today, you're looking at the industry aspect, and cybersecurity, if it's not correctly addressed, you can be vulnerable and your company could be shut down, your product could be slow to come to market, or it could be vulnerable for exploitation. It's incumbent upon us all actually to work in the cybersecurity area to make sure what we're doing is fit for purpose and trying to avoid the reality of this threat that's on screen becoming apparent. The collaboratory hopefully will be a part of that solution. As I said, it will fit in nicely with the broader cybersecurity infrastructure system in Ireland, and it would encourage all companies to engage with the kind of cybersecurity infrastructure that we have, not just the collaboratory, but other supports as well. So if people want to get in touch, they can do so. We are open for business. We're open for discussion. As I said, this is our first year of operation. We have a couple of months to get ahead in terms of our equipment and kit, but in terms of consultancy and training, we're very much open to collaboration, as our name would suggest. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Trevor. Just a question we have here. How long does a project take? How long do you think a project takes? How many timelines do you have to put to manage the cybersecurity? Or is there your top tip of how they should manage it?
It depends whether it's just around getting a feel for the cybersecurity vulnerability of a product, or it's a whole company. So look at it in two ways. If you're a new startup company, what's your cybersecurity infrastructure? If you're a company developing a product, are you going to get the product stress test for vulnerabilities? So both timelines are different. So it would depend on the size of the project. It would depend on how far away the product, if we take a product, how far away the product is from market and how advanced the product is. But we can discuss timelines. We've lots of different partners with the industry partners, and we've got the school within the university working with as well. And there's other research centres within the university that we'll be also collaborating with. So I think we can look at accelerated timelines, and we can do it fit for purpose for each individual case.
That's great. Trevor, thanks a million for your collaboration with us today. You can turn off the camera now. Yeah. So the last speaker, well, the last person speaking for today is, we would like to welcome back Dr. Paul Maguire, Head of Innovation and Enterprise in TU Dublin and here Hothouse.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Gloria. And we've received so many questions, and unfortunately we couldn't get to them all. We will publish the FAQs and send them out on the email addresses that you registered for today's events. If you have any further questions or queries, please email them to hothouse@tudublin.ie. I'd like to extend my thanks to our panel session members and to all staff and researchers for showcasing some of TU Dublin's wide range of capabilities that can help your business innovate. Other capabilities we have on offer include AI, machine learning, data analytics, sustainable infrastructure, and loads more. Please get in touch to see if we can help you. I'd also like to state my appreciation, especially to Danielle, David and Shauna, and to the wider Hothouse team for their assistance today. And thank you for attending, showing your interest in Open Labs and your continued support. Stay safe and well. Thank you.